I think we've got to make a decision by the end of this. And it's a rather unfortunate decision, I do believe. I think if I cannot drive this thing out of here, even if it's driven poorly, if I cannot drive this thing out of here by the time we've finished everything else up, put the wheels on, finish the brakes, then I think I'm gonna have to load it on a trailer and take it to someone that knows a bit more and has a bit more tools and access to things so they can get it going. Because ultimately, the goal with this is to paint it. We want to paint the VK. But first, I want to drive it around, just make sure it feels okay, see if there's anything else I need to find to replace and sort out. But given how long it's taking us just to get it going, I think we have to potentially spend a bit of money and get someone professional to look at it. But we're going to keep our fingers crossed until then. So what we're going to do to finish everything up, we've got to finish the front brakes. Now I'm going to put the new wheels on, the hubs, or the spindles I should say rather. They are a bit pitted, but I think we can get away with putting on some new bearings and put the new brakes on as well. I'm also going to have another stab at the brake lines. I've got some big proper pliers now, so I'm going to try and pull off the brake line nuts and hopefully replace the brake lines because they are splitting. I don't know if they're holding brake fluid, but they're certainly starting to crack. This ran like crap when we were fiddling with it. It just runs like crap. There's no beating around the bush. I still think that we're sucking up quite a bit of crap in the fuel tank. I've replaced the fuel filter already, but I think we're going to drain the fuel tank, have a look inside, and maybe give it a clean and put some rust converter into it, and hopefully that will help in getting some nicer fuel. And a part of that now, I've also got a new fuel sender, and up the front here, one of the areas that have been giving us grief is our little carb here. So we're still not 100% sure what the go is with it. I've got a new choke for it because we think that's a part of it. I also need to plug a few vacuum lines that are just not doing anything. And we've got to tidy that up a bit. Now, once all that's done, we'll try and start it once more and see if we can drive it out under its own power. Now, I don't know how much transmission fluid is into it, so we may have to drain the transmission fluid and top it back up again because it's been sitting since 2014. I probably need some new transmission fluid. If it can even run just the littlest bit and drive by itself, then I'm calling it a win. I'm calling it a win. From there, tuning and everything like that, I always knew I was going to have issues with tuning it. So I think if we can just get it to drive out, we're going to be winning. Right, let's get to it. I would think, given how we've got to wait for it to dry, the fuel tank would take the longest. So let's try get that out first. This 1984 VK Commodore is our little test subject to see how truly difficult it is to paint and panel. And if it just so happens we can turn out anything good, we're going to apply what we have learnt to painting the P6 LTD. For now, this VK has been giving us a little grief, and it's mostly because of my lack of knowledge with Holden in this era of car that has the beginnings of the weird voodoo emissions equipment. But we are persevering by tackling things I do understand, starting with this fuel tank. As a couple of times now I've clogged up this car with little bits of junk, and although replacing the fuel filter did resolve this issue, it is ultimately a band-aid fix. So let's remove the fuel tank and see what condition it is in. Oh, leaking fuel out the back. Ah, pissing fuel out everywhere. There we go. There we go. Oh, there's still some hoses attached. Oh, there we go. There's a goddamn snail in there. Still a bit of fuel in there. What a strangely shaped fuel tank. I suppose it's to accommodate the spare. Ooh. This is very difficult. I don't think fuel's meant to be that colour. Alright. Let's have a look inside this tank. Come on, you're almost there. Yeah. All that. Whoa! Holy crap! Wow! Didn't think it was going to be that bad. Holy crap. My lord, where's my torch? Oh my! Right. Holy crap, man. Holy crap. Damn. I think. God damn. All right. Wow. Well, that's part of our problem. Right, so a new one of these tanks is like over $1,000. So ideally, I want to save it. From what I understand, sure as hell hope we can get these out afterwards. You fill it with a bunch of nuts and bolts, use a magnet to pull it out. Put a bit of chain in there as well. I am a bit worried because there's a bit of plastic, a bit of a plastic tank up in this section on here. No idea why it's there, but old, 80s plastic, it could, as I shake it, all these nuts and bolts and everything around, it could damage it. So, we're going to have to be careful. What I'm going to do now is I'll plug up all the little holes with some bungs, and then we'll fill it with degreaser and give it a good shake, and we might have to do that a few times, given how bad it is. Then once we've done that, we'll put some rust converter in there. I haven't purchased tank sealer, but I might have to. We'll see what it looks like after I do the rust converter. For now, let's get some plugs and some degreaser. Okay, so whilst we are cleaning out that fuel tank, waiting for it to, the first round of degreaser didn't work very well at all. Bit came out, but not a lot. So I ended up steam cleaning it. A lot came out, so that was good. That ain't mud. That's from the inside of the fuel tank. All rust. But it looks gorgeous now. Still quite a bit of stuff stuck in there, so I've now degreased it a couple more times, and I've now chucked some rust converter in there, so hopefully that will convert most of the rust and then make it easier to free everything up. We'll wait and see, I suppose, but yeah, that's going to take a few attempts to clean, I do believe. Now the next thing we're going to do is brake lines. Now I couldn't undo this. This nut was rounded, I can't undo it, but I've since bought some big ass pliers, so we're going to try and hold on for dear life and undo it, and that means we can replace this very nasty looking brake line. That's, yeah, cracking. So, let's grab you, and, oh, how good was that? Wow! Old one is out. New one, go in.
Now ideally we'd probably cut this old nut off and put on a new one that isn't rounded, or even redo these entire hard lines, as they do certainly look crusty and old brake fluid does become corrosive. However, our goal is still just to get this thing on the road, and we can worry about longevity later.
in order for us to progress now, we need some wheel bearings. And I have never packed wheel bearings before, so this is going to be a first.
Fortunately, we have this amazing thing called the internet, a place where anyone can become an overnight master at any trade.
Oh yeah, I'm doing it. Oh, I got a big clump there.
And after watching a few videos and reading the Haynes manual, packing wheel bearings seemed pretty straightforward. Just filling up one side of the bearing with grease, then flipping it over to the other side and filling that up with grease until you see a bit of grease squeezing out. And I can now see why so many people complain about this job. No matter how hard you try, grease just gets everywhere.
So apparently the torque spec is do it up tight and then back it off a little bit, according to the owner's manual book thing that I've got. So we will do that.
But if I'm honest, I didn't mind it. It was a nice break from being in the fetal position somewhere under a car with about 2 degrees of rotation to do up an M12 bolt.
Sick! Alright, other side. So far, so good. So we've got the front brakes sorted. They're all now reassembled, looking absolutely fantastic. Super happy with actually how they turned out, and there's no like play in the wheel bearings or anything like that. We'll see how long they last, given that I've greased them, and I've never done that before, and I didn't have anyone here to double check my work. So we'll see how we go. Now, I want to finish off a few little bits on the carb. Now, we do potentially risk affecting the tune that my mate did. We are going to affect the choke, and that does fiddle with it a little bit, but I think we should be all right. Other than that, all I'm doing is just plugging a few ports and stuff like that, and then that's done. And then really what we're waiting on is the fuel tank to go in. That I think is going to be the biggest mission. That's going to need a lot of cleaning. We'll see how it does after a day or a night of resting in that rust converter. But that's a big job. Right, so what do I need? I need view, Phillips head.
What we're trying to resolve here is the VK's inconsistent idle. Upon startup, irrelevant of the temperature of the motor, it will idle at a random RPM. And I've suspected that this carb's choke may be part of the issue, especially since the old electronic choke adjustment just got extraordinarily hot, but didn't adjust the choke valve. On top of that, I've also confirmed with a mate a bit more proficient in carbies that there is quite a few vacuum outlets that run to nothing, resulting in us losing vacuum pressure. Hopefully, if we plug these up, replace the choke, and run the necessary vacuum lines correctly, we'll be able to have the VK running like it did from factory.
I have figured some things out. I've been sitting here fiddling with this carb for some time now, and I have learnt a lot. Well, I think I have. We'll see whether or not it starts when we do fiddle with it. First of all, we blocked off all the vacuum lines that didn't lead to anything. A lot of them were just emissions related things, so I've just blocked them off because we don't need them for now whilst we're trying to get it running. On top of that, I've installed our new choke whilst fiddling with it to try and see where the, it's just how it works and how the choke operates to get a better idea. And I read the little Haynes manual to try and see if that can tell me a bit more. Between that, I've figured out that I put the old electronic choke adjustment on wrong. So that wasn't beneficial at all. Now I've got it on there correctly. I think everything's all right. I've just middled it, so you can adjust it depending on if it's warmer or colder temperatures. I've just set it in the middle in the hopes that it's just gonna work. When it turns on, we'll see whether or not it's actually going to adjust the choke as it heats up. So we'll see whether or not we have any other wiring issues or anything related to it. We've obviously got power to it if it's getting hot, but what that means, I'm not too sure, because this wire is quite brittle and old. With that, I think we can reassemble it, and then that's done with the choke. It should just work after that. From there, We can whack in our new battery that isn't going to try and corrode every single new terminal that I put onto it. Fill it up with fluids in the diff and the, what's the other one? Transmission. And then it's just fuel tank and bleed the brakes. So let's bolt this down. Come to think of it, probably would have been better to do this after I bled the brakes. I do believe now we are done. Like, there's nothing more on the VK we can really do until I've driven it and had a bit of an experience with it. The only thing we're waiting on is this here fuel tank. Now, in my free time, on and off for the past, I don't know, week, I suppose it's been, I've been coming in here. What's up? What is it? Where's your ball gone? You can get your ball. I've been coming in here to try and clean this out. Now, I've steam cleaned it twice now. I've run rust converter through it. I've degreased it multiple times. I've done the chains, done the bolts. It is better. It is significantly better in there. I'm actually quite impressed with how well this has worked. However, it hasn't worked 100%. I was thinking, we've gotten this far, it's cleaner, the pickup is less likely to pick up stuff. Surely we can just whack it in there, drive it, and then once we go to do a proper rebuild, proper respray on the entire car, we can do another proper clean of this. However, I imagine that since doing this, I have now loosened up quite a bit of debris and rust that's in there, which means when we drive over bumps and stuff like that, it will flake and fall off. I do not think it is a good idea to put this back in until it's properly clean, which sucks because this has been quite the mission to clean, and it's not clean yet. But I think that we should properly do it. And I did say, if we're not done, if we're not driving this out of here by the end of when we finish working on it in this part of the build, we're gonna have to get professional help. But I think this is an exception. So, that now means I need to spend a few $100 on the rust converter, which is a lot of money. And I probably need to go and give this a bit of a clean up outside a bit further. You'll see that it's now black. I've spray painted it with some spray rust converter stuff, and I'm not 100% happy with how it's turned out, so I think I might try and clean it up a bit more and give it another crack, though it's looking a million times better. That is the plan. But I think it's a good plan. So, I had to go shopping, spend all my goddamn money. I reckon we'll start with the big one because that's probably the easiest. I reckon we'll do, oh well, let's take the watch off. Do not want grease all over that. We'll do potentially risk affecting the tune that my mate did on it because we are going to affect the clutch. We're going to affect the clutch? No, we're not going to affect the clutch. On top of that, I've installed our new choke, and whilst fiddling with it to try.
What we are trying to resolve here is this VK's inconsiderate idle